Hi guys, and welcome to Storytime with Georgia and Amber. I'm Georgia, and today I am going to be reading I Am Lucille Ball by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am Lucille Ball. When I was a little girl, my mother tried to dress me in ribbons and bows, but I was different from other girls. My idea was fun was horsing around with my dad. He used to throw me up in the ceiling, always catching me and making me laugh. When I was 3 years old, the local grocer used to let me put on a show at his store. My favorite was this frog routine. I had even more fun when my aunt used to let me work in her beauty salon. She'd let me do the hair of her customers' children. Soon after, the beauty salon went out of business. But my childhood wasn't all goofiness and games. When I was 7 years old, I went to live with my grandma Peterson. She didn't like the way I played. In fact, she thought having fun was a bad thing. Instead, in her dark kitchen, she made me wash lots of dishes. She didn't even allow any mirrors in her house, except for one in the bathroom. She thought they made you think too much of yourself. When I rode on trolley cars, I used to make silly faces at my reflection. Try it. You'll see so many possibilities. To Grandmother Peterson, little girls weren't supposed to be bold, sassy, or silly. As punishment, she'd send me to bed before sundown. I still remember lying there, hearing all the other kids playing outside. But no matter how tough those days were, I had one thing to get me through it: my sense of humor. On rainy days, I'd play on the back porch and make dolls out of clothespins. I gave them all personalities. You wouldn't believe the adventures we had. My shows only got bigger. When I was 8, my mom moved us to a 3-bedroom house that was right by an amusement park. That's right, a real amusement park. I'd act out movies in our backyard. My friends and little brother were the co-stars. If they weren't there, I'd pretend the chicken coop was my castle. Our chickens would be my loyal army. By the time I was 12, I realized there was real power in making people laugh. The principal of my school, a man named Bernard Drake, realized it too. He was the very first person to label my wild and talented and funny behavior as I took his advice. The next year, a friend and I put on our first amateur production, a play called Charlie's Aunt. It was the very first time I felt that wonderful feeling that comes from getting laughs on a real stage. How much did I love it? To have the starring role. I sold the tickets, swept up after, and even turned out the lights. No matter what your dream is, if you want it, you have to work for it. So that's what I did. Was I a bit too enthusiastic? Sometimes. When I was 15, during one musical, I did a dance with so much excitement, I fell into the orchestra pit and dislocated my arm. When I was 17, my mom sent me to a fancy acting school in New York. It didn't go as I had plans. The teachers made fun of how I spoke. They said I had no talent, that I couldn't sing and couldn't dance. All the other girls laughed at me. They were tall and beautiful. I was funny and different. Of the 70 students accepted to the school, they narrowed it down to 12. I didn't make it. I failed. From there, I tried being a dancer, but nothing much changed. I never let it stop me. At one point, I was so poor, I was down to my last 4 cents. That's it, 4 pennies. To eat, I'd wait for a customer to leave a restaurant. Then I'd grab their leftover food before it got thrown away. I went to so many tryouts, I even wore out my shoes. But no matter how hard I tried, the message never seemed to change. Eventually, I did find work, and then, with a bit of luck, I finally got my first big break in the movies. I was 21 years old and selected to be one of the girls in the background on the movie Roman Scandals. As the director came to inspect us all, I grabbed some red crepe paper, tore it into shreds, licked it, and I stood out from the crowd that day. From there, I got my first on-screen acting credit in a short football comedy starring the Three Stooges. Most girls didn't want those slapstick parts. I loved them, and I knew how to make them even funnier. If you flinch when the pie hits you, the audience doesn't laugh as hard. I never flinched. It goes back to those days when my dad threw me in the air. I knew he was going to catch me. I knew I'd be safe. In time, that confidence led to one role that changed my life. I had left the movies and was working in radio. Then CBS had a brand new idea for a TV show. To prove them wrong, my husband Desi and I took our show on the road. We turned it into a vaudeville act. Vaudeville was an old kind of show with lots of funny skits. It became such a big hit, CBS decided it was ready for TV. We'd asked for one thing, to film the show in front of a live audience. Hearing that audience, people at home would really feel the laughter. The TV network was worried about the cost of the film. They said it would be too expensive, so we made a deal. They could pay us less money, but the show would belong to us. On September 8th, 1951, the bleachers filled up by 8 p.m. I Love Lucy was ready to go, and there was nothing proper about it. Every episode, Lucy and Ricky, along with their best friends Ethel and Fred, would get into a crazy adventure. Every week, America turned in to see what Lucy was up to. They wanted to see what new trouble I'd get into. And they wanted to see who else would show up. We had famous guest stars like Harpo Mark and Superman. That's right, Superman! Between 1952 and 1953, though the first TV bosses said no one would be interested, 2 out of 3 households with TV sets were watching I Love Lucy on Monday nights. What was the secret of the show's success? It was the thing I'd learned all those years ago. You can always find a laughter in what everyone else is taking seriously. Today, people call me the greatest comedian of my time and one of the most beloved entertainers ever. But I was also the first woman to run a major Hollywood studio. Remember when I said the TV show belonged to us? Our studio, Desilu, used the money from I Love Lucy to produce other shows like Star Trek and Mission Impossible. In life, people put me down because I was different from everyone else. They didn't like the way I looked, or the way I talked, or even the way I was always clowning around. This isn't a joke. Don't let other people change you. There's no such thing as a proper girl or boy. Be true to who you are. Go look in the mirror. When someone puts you down, that's who'll pick you back up. When you get sad, that's who'll help you laugh it off. To find happiness in life, you have to do what you do best. Trust me on this. Every time you look in that mirror, your possibilities will be endless. I am Lucille Ball. I believe that humor can take on anything. We all need laughter, every single one of us. And for the best comedy, people have to believe in you. But for that to happen, you have to believe in yourself. I Love Lucy wasn't just the title of the show. It was my most important life lesson. In this world, the person you need to love you most is you. That is the end of the book. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time on Storytime with Georgia and Amber. Bye!